Welcome, everyone. It is Monday, March 9th. And I can tell from the chat already, the time change kind of messing with folks a little bit. That's all right. I think we're all having one of those days. My day is off to a very, very rough start, or at least it was earlier today. I was like 30 minutes late waking up. Also, just random fact thing. Today, the day after the clocks move forward an hour, historically really, really bad for heart attacks. The time change screws with people. And of course, as we get older, our bodies, a little weird, different, whatever. So everybody, keep an eye on yourself today. If you start to feel a little weird, a little off, feeling of impending doom, take care of yourself, get what you need to. Car crashes too. That is another one, says Writer's Eye. Yeah. Watch yourself today. Please be careful. Take care of yourself. As I always say, time changes. Stupid, says Neat Noodle. 100% agree. Wishful thinking on the heart attacks for someone, Farron. No, see, in order for that to happen, somebody's got to actually feel stress. And I don't think that man feels any stress. He should, but he doesn't. I hopped on a moment or two early because I did see one comment that I wanted to address, because I've actually had a couple messages about this too. This is from Pagan Sky 452, who says, "Hey, Farron, what is going on over at Ring of Fire? I used to listen to every upload just as I do yours. I tried to be supportive of the guy who replaced you, but couldn't. His rep," and then, character limited. Let me see if it continues. His replacement is an improvement, but still something is missing. Now I am still in contact with everybody at Ring of Fire. We're still friends, but in terms of what is going on there anyway with the operational stuff or the day-to-day, that I do not know. We don't, when we do chat, we're not talking about the business aspect of it or the channel or the hosts or anything like that. I don't even know why Jared was, moved on. I don't know if it was his decision, their decision. I don't know any of that. So I do know the guy who is now full-time, Josh Gay. He's actually somebody I hired personally, the only person I ever got to hire back in 2016, I guess it was. So yeah, that's kind of cool. And I really like Josh. We've gotten along well over the last 10 years, but in terms of any of that, I don't know. So unfortunately, I can't speak to any of that. I hope everything is going well with them. I hope there's not any kind of issues. I still wish them well. In fact, I was messaging with the video editor a couple days ago, got some fun ideas, like kind of cross-pollination type things, because I do want to still, be not necessarily a part of it, but, great line from a Jimmy Eat World song. I want to always feel like part of this was mine. And that's kind of how I feel about Ring of Fire, because it is, I mean, doing the segments and building that YouTube channel. Yeah. I mean, that was my work, and I was there for 21 plus years. So I do always want to feel like part of that is mine. Even if I'm not with it, I want to help in any way that I can. So, there could be some fun things coming up if we're able to pull them off. Just keep an eye out for April 1st. That's all I'm going to say. If it happens, I don't know, but just keep an eye out. April 1st, special day for all of us. Now, let's get down to business. As everybody knows, Kristi Noem was, of course, fired last week. Well, kind of. She was demoted. She's now going to run whatever, like the Shield, I guess, because we're just bringing the MCU to life. So she's going to be part of Shield, and she's going to be replaced at Homeland Security by Mark Wayne Mullen. But Kristi Noem is apparently not happy about this, and she is not going down without a fight. So what happened is that the day Donald Trump decided we're going to move her, she is toxic, she's a liability, she sucks at her job, everybody hates her, Trump also came out and said that he was not aware of the $220 million ad campaign featuring Kristi Noem on horseback, with soldiers, with everybody. He didn't know about that. Wow, weird, right? Well, then allies in Noem's office at Homeland Security immediately went running to the Daily Caller, conservative rag, where they made clear, oh, hell no, this guy is lying. Everybody knew about it. Oh, and by the way, Donald Trump never gave Kristi Noem the support that she needed to be able to do her job. Here's what it is. The Daily Caller's Reagan Reese says Noem had grievances with the Trump White House. One administration official informed Reese that Noem told Trump and his White House that she was not getting the support she needed at the end of 2025, and that while Trump agreed and stepped in to help, which led to a temporary improvement, things took a turn for the worse after federal agents shot and killed 2 Americans in Minneapolis, after which Noem felt that she was thrown under the bus. That same official disputed Trump's claim that he was not aware of a controversial $220 million ad campaign that Noem started, insisting to Reese that, quote, the White House was aware of Noem's ad contract and senior White House officials were even involved in getting the funds approved. But then another official told Reese that it's laughable that Kristi is trying to blame her own self-inflicted issues on someone else. The issues that led to Kristi's replacement were a result of her own wrongdoings, not a lack of support from the White House. Oh, don't you love it, folks? Don't you just love this MAGA on MAGA violence? I mean, not real violence, obviously. We do not condone that in any way, but this verbal abuse, this he said, she said, back and forth, will they, won't they, we don't know, but it's fun to watch, right? Because at the very least, as we watch the collapse of Western society, every now and then it's nice to be entertained even a little bit. And that is exactly what is happening here. But I got a warning for Kristi Noem, who, by the way, I do think is telling the truth about Trump absolutely knew about the $220 million contract. At least at one point. Obviously, Dementia Donnie can't remember things from one moment to the next, so he may have genuinely forgot that he knew about it. But, Kristi, you may want to get your allies to tone it down a little bit, because you're still hoping to be working for SHIELD in this administration. And that's probably not going to happen if your people continuously go out there and piss off Donald Trump, causing the White House to have to respond furiously and claim that you are, in fact, the liar in this situation. I think you're all a bunch of liars. Every now and then, one of you lets out a nugget of truth, typically accidentally. But you guys are all perfect for each other. Just a bunch of heartless, lying, egomaniacal sociopaths. You belong in this administration. I don't want you to have a job at all, of course, but you fit right in, Kristi. And I'm sure these little sycophants that you have at Homeland Security doing your dirty work out there telling conservative media that it's not her fault, it's his fault. She did everything right, he did everything wrong. Yeah, I'm sure they fit right into just a bunch of horrible human beings making decisions that are destroying everything that was once decent, at least, about the United States of America. Comment from Brando Thompson says, what's the Dow looking like? Let's look and see. What is the Dow? What is the Dow right now? Ooh. Oh, damn. That's a big old red line straight down as of right now. It's 46,624. Oh, man. I don't like that. A couple of super chats here. Rita B says, hello from Kelly Springs in Florida. F. Dementia Donnie. I'm not sure where Kelly Springs is in Florida. I don't know that I've ever actually heard of that. That's cool. Jimmy Eat World is underrated. Yes. It's always a good time on the chat, in the show, in the stream, when I can reference, one of the songs or bands that I love. So there we go. Neat Noodle says, not enough costume opportunities with the new job. No, she's gonna have to dress up like Nick Fury. Andra Brandon says, friendly reminder, No King's protest on March 28th. Please attend and keep it peaceful and respectful. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for letting us, reminding us about that. Ryan Edwards says, the fact that they're calling it S.H.I.E.L.D. is pissing off a lot of Marvel fans. Yeah, I'm calling it S.H.I.E.L.D. just because I think it's funny. But, and because I'm a Marvel fan. What is S.H.I.E.L.D.? To me, it sounds like a Trump-created department to hide his corruption, evil acts, and shield his fragile ego, says Pagan Sky. You nailed it. It is absolutely a made-up thing that Donald Trump created to do some stuff. We don't really know what S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be doing, but it's going to be there with people who are going to get paid for doing nothing, and it's probably going to be able to take in donations that's going to be funneled to somebody's bank account. Not quite sure whose yet, but I think we're all quite sure whose. Scorpio ZA says, oh yeah, it's an hour earlier than I'm used to. Greetings. Yeah, the time change. And as you do get older, it really just F's with you more. Which is annoying. One of the great parts about being young is, whatever. We lose an hour, we gain an hour. I don't care. It's the same life. Yeah, let's go. But as you get older, you're like, God, no, I can't. I enjoy the longer daylight, absolutely, but losing an hour, eventually, this whole stream, probably just the whole channel, is going to become the crotchety old Farron channel, where I'm just going to sit here for hours every day, bitching about the way things are, opining for the way things were. And honestly, we'll probably do much better at that too. Patrick Lechner says, we are doomed. Hi. Well, thank you. Kelly Springs Park. Do you visit Florida Springs? That is actually something I was talking to my wife with a couple days ago, because I've been seeing a lot of videos about Florida Springs. Not sure why, but I guess because, tourist season is starting, spring break season. And I was like, we really, really need to go there. So hopefully this year. I will say, I did, my wife and I booked our first summer vacation for this year. Not a super long one, but we are getting the hell out of town for 4 or 5 days, going to one of my favorite places on the planet, or at least in the United States, I should say. And those of you who watch regularly probably know what I'm talking about. The city where any vice you may have is totally acceptable. Perfect place for a crotchety old man like me to have fun for a few days. Neat Noodle, you got it. I love it. All right, let's move on now. By the way, I also love this coffee mug. I got this from a local potter, if that's what you call them, person who does pottery and ceramics. I got 3 of them. It's amazing. It's perfect size. I love it. They're beautiful, all different. Really great stuff here. I wish I knew their name. I would promote them on here, just because, I really love supporting the local businesses we have around here. But I love this. Pagan Sky says, you're too young to be crotchety. Even I'm too young, and I'm older than you by a generation. Hey, dream that dream. If you want to be crotchety at 20 years old, do it. It's never too early to be a crotchety old man. Brown Coat in a Box says, you mentioned possibly moving out of Florida a while ago. Is that still a possibility? Actually, yeah, because Gary texted me a story the other day that basically made it to where we may have to get out of here pretty soon. There's some legislation going through the Florida state legislature that would basically allow the government to declare me a domestic terrorist for reporting on politics, because it is so vaguely written and gives full authority to the Republican administration in charge of Florida. I absolutely would fit the criteria they have in that bill, which is terrifying. Scorpio ZA says, well, Las Vegas is empty at the moment, so you should not have to wait in too many lines. Hopefully, but we're going in the summer. You know, we got like 3.5 months till then, so we'll see. I find myself more and more saying, I remember when, says Berlin. Berlin 3014, not Berlin saying, I remember when. That's a totally different thing here. Oh, dear God. We're off to a bit of a weird start, I guess you could say. But we do need to one more super chat, and then I got more stories to cover here. Ryan Edwards says, a lot of the laws going through Tennessee has made it so we are getting out of Dodge and headed to California. I will pay some higher prices in exchange for a doctor visit that doesn't lead to jail. And that is sad that people have to do that. But you know, that's where we're at. That is where we're at in you know, depending on where you live in this country. I think the folks in the blue states really don't understand how much you're like, oh no, the prices are so bad. And blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, first of all, prices in Florida are just as bad almost. Home price is actually worse, you know, comparatively. But, you know, it's just really, really freaking horrible. Paula Trigg says, love how the citizens of Florida voted to abolish the time change in Florida and make us all one time zone in 2018. But it has to be approved by the U.S. Congress. 8 years later, we're still waiting. And I fear we will unfortunately continue to be waiting on that. So let's move on. As I'm sure most people are aware, everything Donald Trump has done since coming back into office has been a total miserable failure. And 2025 was a cakewalk compared to what we have seen thus far in 2026. Nothing but chaos, bloodshed, price hikes, economic calamity, and international embarrassments. But Donald Trump, late last week, told a reporter that, quote, everybody loves everything that's happening. And of course, that is in spite of all of the polls showing that literally majorities hate everything that's happening. Donald Trump continues to live in his own alternative reality where he genuinely thinks everybody loves everything that's happening. Here is Trump's exact quote. People are loving what's happening. We're taking out a threat to the United States of America, major threat, and doing it like nobody's ever seen before. He always says, like nobody's ever seen before. Nobody's ever seen this. Yeah, nobody in the United States has ever seen a war based on lies in the Middle East with no clear goals and then becomes a complete quagmire that costs us $1 billion a day. Literally never seen that before. This is totally new to us. We don't know what's going on. And of course, we've seen gas price hikes before. We have seen inflation like this before. We have seen economic collapse. I mean, hell, millennials have seen economic collapse through most of their lives. So no, Donald, we have seen this all before. And no, Donald, nobody other than maybe Lindsey Graham loves what is happening. It is chaos. It is turmoil, all brought to us by a man who most of us understand is likely suffering from dementia, whose body is rotting from the inside out, visible rot on this man's skin. No amount of makeup can cover that up. And as Donald Trump continues to slowly decay before our very eyes, he becomes more irrational. He becomes more chaotic. And even a majority of Republicans say that he is becoming more untethered as he gets older. And nobody likes it. But in his world, in his reality, where facts cannot penetrate because he's got that super Wakandan shield over it, he thinks everybody loves it. He thinks all of the polls showing that everybody hates it are fake. That is a mental disorder, folks. That is a psychological problem. But God forbid somebody get this man into therapy. And as such, his therapy is bombing the rest of the world. His therapy is sending his brown shirt thugs to murder us in the street. That's his version of therapy. But honest to God, a couple sessions, maybe we could be living in a better world. But instead, he genuinely believes it's him against everybody. And anyone who says that he's wrong is obviously fake. Anybody who points out reality is clearly lying. He has become Big Brother. Luckily, however, more and more people are starting to understand that with each passing day. There's a comment, Mark Kelly for president. As I've said before, I don't dislike that idea. I don't. I like it. I think it's got potential. I think he could be the sleeper that nobody's really, because everybody's obviously like, well, it's going to be Gavin Newsom or Buttigieg or AOC. You watch that Mark Kelly come swooping in. Yeah. I mean, look, he's not as progressive as I would like to see, but he's more progressive than a lot of the other corporatists. So, you know, sometimes I'm not one of the absolute purists. I want to be, I try to be, but I also do believe in harm reduction. But I also think Mark Kelly is not going to be a, you know, corporatist, you know, to the degree that we have seen with, you know, previous Democratic presidents. So Jedi Protector says diesel is approaching $5 a gallon. Truckers are mad. Yeah. And the last thing you want is angry truckers doing 80 miles an hour down the interstate. That's not good for anybody. But also, of course, the more diesel goes up, the more expensive the goods you buy, even if they're not produced with any petroleum products, those goods increase because the cost to get them to where they're going increases significantly. Sandra Verlinden says, Farron, come to Belgium. You'll be safe here. All non-MAGA are welcome here. I definitely do. Like, I don't even have a passport. And every year when my wife has like spring break or summer break or even, you know, fall break from school, I'm like, we need to get our passports. We got to do that. And we haven't done it, but they're coming up on spring break in a couple weeks here. And I do think that is something I would like to do. So hopefully I get that done soon, or at least you'll get the application in, because may need it sooner than later. Yeah. And look, it's not on, I know the, says you don't have a passport. Look, a lot of Americans, I think actually a majority of Americans do not have passports. That's not, you know, leaving the country for us is not something that's necessarily as common as it would be for somebody overseas. And I do want it. I do want to get it. The problem is obviously we have to get them for the kids as well. And so then it does become very expensive. Like it's over $1,000 if we want to get one for everybody. Plus with the kids, you can't do it without the child and the parents both present. So that's what's made it a little bit more difficult. V-Man says, Farron, have you seen the video of the Chinese professor predicting that the U.S. will lose the Iran war and mapping out why? I have not. That is interesting. Although maybe not as surprising as some people may think. Because when we think about Iraq, they didn't necessarily have the capabilities that, our government was telling us that they had. They couldn't fight back in the same way because Saddam Hussein had obviously spent decades kind of, decimating things, making sure he had no allies. Everybody hated him. Iran, yes, the Ayatollah definitely hated, definitely horrible, but more insulated than Iraq had been. So yeah, tons of damage, but the damage was mostly within their borders. So they also have a stronger military, obviously 20 years more advanced than when we went into Iraq. So I can obviously see a scenario where we don't prevail the way we think we're going to prevail. I don't know a full on, like, they're going to overtake us type loss situation, but potentially a Vietnam type situation. Absolutely. And honestly, like Vietnam is like another example too. Like the United States, even with our, biggest, bestest military, we do not always win. So yeah, something to keep in mind. The Trump Reaper says, we used to be able to go to Mexico and Canada without a passport. Yeah. And that includes obviously like the down in the Caribbean, the Bahamas and all that. So, no more. But I do definitely want a passport, and I need to get one. It's not just, I want one. I need one. But international travel is, of course, very expensive. Getting over to Europe, not super cheap with a family of 5. It's, hard enough to also kind of navigate here in the United States when you are traveling with 3, minors. It kind of freaks me out. Like going to New York the first time with, 2 kids that were in elementary school, one that was only in 6th grade. And we're like in Times Square and there's like a million people. And I'm like freaked the F out because, where are the kids, 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 where are the kids? Because, you lose track of them for half a second and they're gone. It's a little better now that they're a little bit older. And I do think, obviously, we can, navigate a little better. But taking them to a place where they clearly don't speak the language and I don't speak the language, then it becomes a little bit tricky again. But hell, maybe my wife and I'll just be one of those couples where it's like, we're going out of town, kids. You're going to go stay with friends and grandma for a week. See ya. That would be cheaper. And once the kids are all out of the house, my wife and I, we will be taking many, 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 many more vacations. We love travel. We love experiencing new things, eating the new foods, all of that. So, not to say like we're looking forward to everybody getting out of here, but kind of. Let's move on because something weird, to put it mildly, happened this past Sunday on Fox News. You see, Fox News showed a video of Donald Trump looking very solemn, looking very proper at the dignified transfer of the 6 U.S. service members that had been killed in Iran. The only problem with the footage that Fox News showed was that it was from a long, long time ago. Because the actual footage of Donald Trump showing up at the dignified transfer of the soldiers killed in Iran showed him wearing one of his own merch hats. That big white hat emblazoned with gold letters that say USA that you can buy from Donald Trump's website. And the man didn't remove his hat as the fallen service members were paraded in front of him. But that's not what Fox showed. Fox, knowing how bad that looked, pulled out the old footage so that people would think the man wasn't disrespecting the fallen and just overall a giant piece of human excrement. Luckily, everybody else showed the real footage. So when the real footage was making its way around and then Fox News is showing something totally different, it didn't take long for the public to become outraged. So during that very same broadcast hosted by Griff Jenkins, which sounds like the fakest name on planet Earth, like a bad author would come up with a character, this is Griff Jenkins. But anyway, Griff Jenkins was forced to sheepishly admit that we made a mistake. Oh, heavens, we got it a little bit wrong. Sorry. That wasn't a mistake. When everybody else has the accurate footage, because you all sent cameras and reporters there, that's not a mistake. That was intentional deceit to make Donald Trump look better than he actually is. This was not an accident. You knew how bad that made him look, how disrespectful it was. So you scrambled and tried to cover it up. And in doing so, made the situation so much worse for you and your network, once again proving that nothing on that network, hell, at this point, even the clips you guys share, cannot be trusted. Neat Noodle, thank you for the super chat that says Farron's Passport Fund. I appreciate that. Member comment from Moondragon says, happy Mooniversary. I'm starting to see t-shirts that read, if Biden had done this. Oh, that's awesome. I do like that. Gargoyle Dragon says, they got a lot of damage report people here. I like that. If we're going to recreate the French Revolution, can we at least have our dictatorial leader have the trots? I mean, he's not an actual military leader, a man of the people, so can he at least have the digestive problems? He might actually. I mean, given his diet, you kind of got to imagine that guy's not having normal, situations. Truly BTD says, Cap shields him from brightness, trigger sunsetting. I did not know that. That is interesting. Socialist Trucker says, and they lost their crap back when Obama saluted holding his coffee. Forgot about that as well. So many outrages Fox has had over the years, right? Just nonstop. I can't believe this person would do such a thing. And then Trump's out there with his hat on and looking like he's going to be the next person to keel over. Paula Trigg says, for spring break, the kids are going to the other grandparents and we are going to Earth Day birthday in Orlando Music Festival. Oh, that's fun. I'm torn. There is a chance I end up in Orlando for spring break. I know it's always super crowded that time of year, but we've done it so many times. It's not that big of a deal anymore. But there's so much to do that is not amusement parks in Orlando. It really is a great, great place to be. So much fun. If you know where to look, off the beaten path, again, you don't have to go to the theme parks. There's so much fun stuff to do. Kian says, have you heard of Russia's dead hand missile defense system? It's designed to launch retaliatory missiles if Moscow is destroyed. I have heard of that. And I'm sure Donald Trump probably wants something like that here, just like our Golden Dome. That I still firmly believe he thinks is a literal dome that will go over the United States, much like the Simpsons movie. No McDonald's restaurant harmed in Iran. You got to keep those up and running. So that way, when Donald Trump does finally go over there to the country, once everybody's dead, he can at least be like, I also need a Big Mac and some fries and a Filet-O-Fish. The fact that he eats the Filet-O-Fish sandwich is just so freaking gross. let's continue because we have some fun developments with one of our favorite old punching bags that we have not gotten to talk about as much as we thought we would in this administration, but it is Kari Lake. Late last week, a judge ruled in a lawsuit against Kari Lake that not only are all of these changes that you've made at the U.S. Agency for Global Media, not only can you not do that, but also you cannot do that because you were illegally put in charge. Kari Lake, when Donald Trump came into office, was of course picked to run Voice of America at the U.S. Agency for Global Media. And she immediately started dismantling that. And yes, she was, confirmed, got that position. But you see, she then was put in charge basically of the whole damn operation. Now that can't happen because she was not approved for that position by the Senate. But she was acting that way anyway, doing all these changes, making all these cuts, firing all these people, defunding it. And last week, a Republican-appointed judge, Royce Lamberth, appointed by Ronald Reagan, who I'm glad they ruled this way, but still, you were appointed in the 80s. It's the year 2026. You should not be on the bench anymore. But Judge Royce Lamberth said, you can't do this because you were not actually given this job. You were not approved. You are, much like Lindsay Halligan and Alina Habba before her, illegally appointed to run this agency. So no, you can't do any of this garbage. Kari Lake is pissed off. Understandably, right? I mean, I'd be pissed off if somebody was like, hey, you're illegally being the host of Fair and Balanced. That would be disappointing. But I'm also not an idiot, and I don't do illegal things. So Kari Lake came out and slammed this Republican-appointed judge, calling Royce Lamberth an activist judge, saying it's an activist judge trying to stand in the way of those efforts at U.S. AGM. An activist judge. Now, I love the fact that anytime, regardless of who appointed the judge in the first place, anytime a judge rules against a conservative, it's not because that conservative was acting illegally. It's not because the law says this, but you did that. It's because that judge is an activist. Even judges that Trump himself has appointed, conservatives have called activist judges because they ruled against it. It's just an activist. Because in their minds, they can do no wrong. Everything they do is correct. Everything they do is right. Anybody who says otherwise is only acting that way because obviously you're on the left. They lack the ability inside their little simpleton minds to think for a second that maybe what we're doing ain't right. They literally cannot fathom that. They do not have the brain power or the education level to even have that thought. Not even the realization, just the thought that maybe. So everybody's an activist. Former Republican lawmaker Barbara Comstock actually came out to Judge Lamberth's defense saying, Judge Royce Lamberth, a Texan, former JAG, former U.S. attorney, and appointed to the court by President Ronald Reagan, is a well-known conservative, you ignoramus. Keep losing, girl. I am no fan of Barbara Comstock, but I gotta tell you, that quote is so wonderful. I may just have to have it framed. Kari Lake continues to be nothing but an absolute failure. Antonia Fogarty, super chat there. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. V-Man says, something to make you laugh in this time of madness. The MAGA governor of Puerto Rico looks like Chris Farley in a wig. When you see it, You won't unsee it. And you made me laugh. I do appreciate that. Scorpius EA says, speaking of McDonald's, did you see the video of the CEO trying the new burger, the smallest bite ever? I did, and now it's such a meme. It's really funny how the internet has kind of taken on a life of its own with that crazy video. Lauren Tamura says, hi, Farron, just following up on the Word document I sent to your Facebook social media. It still hasn't been received. I actually, for the first time in a long time, looked at my Facebook messages yesterday, and I have 3 unread messages, and 2 of them are from the same guy, one of my friends. It was like a happy birthday message. And then another one was from another friend. Those are the only ones I saw there. So 2 from him, 1 for, like, honestly, I'll open the app right now. There's Messenger. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. 3 from Ty, 1 from my aunt that says happy birthday. That's it. Yeah. That's all I have right there. So I need to open it. Ty, if you're watching, I am so sorry I have not opened your messages yet. I know they're from the end of February. I promise I will get to them. A Gargoyle Dragon says, all this complaint. Ty is a great guy, by the way. Love him. He's awesome. Great artist, too. Gargoyle Dragon says, all this complaining about activist judges reminds me of the playground and kids screaming, nuh-uh, I got my everything shield. That is funny. And that is what they think it is. Like, this is an everything shield. If I say you're an activist, nothing you say can hurt me. Like, you're screwed. Brian S. Hawes says, super chat, thank you very much. And that is your 5th super chat on a live stream. So thank you very much for your continued support. I appreciate it. All the dragons here are from the damage report, right? I believe so. That is their thing. And it's great to see you all here. I do appreciate it. John Iadurala, obviously, he is a wonderful guy. He is a phenomenal presenter and analyst. I love John. He is absolutely just a great, great dude. And I used to do his show regularly, which I explained a while back. Somebody was like, why don't you do it anymore? And it's the time issue. I simply cannot do it because of the time, not because I was just like, no, screw you guys. But I love John. And if it ever did work out with the timing wise, I would absolutely love to do it again. V-Man says, I just sent the pic of the PR Gov to your Blue Sky. Oh, heavens to Betsy. I will get on there. Also, for anybody asking to send messages, apparently Blue Sky is the best way to do it. Instagram compartmentalizes messages when you send them on there. So if I don't follow you, I have to go through all these extra steps to even find that you have sent me a message. It does not alert me to the fact that you did. Blue Sky, on the other hand, it's all just there. So even though I only open Blue Sky, I think like once every 2 weeks, that would still be the best way. Cause you have the little notification and I do check my messages on there. Facebook will put some messages in a separate folder than regular messages. And I may need to go and check in my, back end of Facebook, which I'm not super great with, but I do think there's there's a better way for that. Plus, there's also the difference between my regular, like, personal Facebook page and my Fair and Balanced Facebook page. So maybe it's on there because the ones I was looking at there, that's actually my regular. So I could be like totally screwed up. It was sent to Fair and Balanced. Gotcha. Okay. That I know how to check. That one I do know. So I will go look for that. Yeah. I appreciate that. So thank you. But yeah, that's the problem. Because whenever somebody's like, hey, I sent you a message, I look on the other one and look, I'm smart most of the time. Sometimes I can be a big idiot. Not about politics, I'll tell you that. Just about little basic things. So thank you. I should have I feel very dumb for not thinking about that. Because I'm sitting here looking at my personal messages like, well, I don't see it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I used to be so good with technology. Anyway, moving on here, folks. Republicans are freaking out about the state of Texas. Texas, for actually the first time in my 21 plus years of covering American politics, Texas could go blue in a statewide race. Now, I still think it's a long shot, but the fact that you now have Republicans across the state of Texas, hell, across the United States, freaking out about Texas tells you this could be the time. Longtime Republican strategist Mark McKinnon said this on MS Now recently. They're really freaked out about James Tallarico. This guy is a once-in-a-generational talent. He's got a message and a style that really appeals to not only Democrats, but independents and soft Republicans. And obviously, particularly if the Republicans nominate Ken Paxton, who's very unpopular, has a ton of ethics problems, there's a real shot here. I'm the guy that usually taps the brakes for every few years when people come to me and say, oh, Texas turning blue. And I'm saying, no, wait a minute. You know, just because there's more Hispanics doesn't mean they're voting Democrats. Democrats saw, by the way, the highest early vote. This is the first time the Democrats have exceeded Republican early vote in 20 years. So there's something going on. Now, I love how McKinnon points out what I have pointed out for also 20 years. And that is every election cycle, you get these, God love them because a lot of them are really great, but a lot of people that are kind of new to politics. And those tend to be the folks that are like, Texas is turning blue. I don't know what you guys are doing. Texas is turning blue. It's totally going to do it. And those of us who have heard it every 2 years for 20 years are just like, yep, sure thing. Yeah, it totally is, right? Because again, we hear it every 2 years and it never happens. But that doesn't mean it'll never happen. And if it's going to happen, this could be the year. I know that's a lot of ifs and buts and maybes and possibilities, but that's the reality in which we live. We don't know what that vote in Texas is going to be. We can speculate. We can extrapolate from the currently available data. And yeah, it's looking pretty dang good for the Democrats right now. It's looking better for them than it has in, as McKinnon points out, 20 years. But how many times and how many different elections for House races, Senate races, presidential races, how many times have we been disappointed on election night? How many times have we seen polls saying one thing and results telling us something totally different and very much more disappointing? If you want Texas to turn blue, then those people in Texas have to do that work, right? I can't turn Texas blue. I'm not in Texas. I got my own hell here in Florida to deal with. But if you are in Texas and you want to push that narrative that it's going to turn blue, you have to be the one to do it. And by do it, I don't mean go out there and get on MSNBC and tell everybody. No. I mean, go to neighborhoods and do this. Do you have a moment that I can talk to you about James Tallarico? That's what you got to do. You have to do the legwork. It's not all about putting your face in front of a camera. It's not about making a name for yourself or having a viral video on TikTok. We had plenty of that in the last election cycle. Didn't work. You have to put in the groundwork. You have to build the machine inside the state. And if you do not do that, then no, Texas will never turn blue. And even if it does for one off cycle, it'll quickly go back to red if you haven't built the internal infrastructure. That's what has to happen in Texas for any change, not only to happen, but also to become permanent, or at least as permanent as anything can be in American politics. Very large, thank you very much. Super chat here from Sandra Verlander says, I see people talking more about more political parties. Pro is they have to work together. Nobody will have over 50% of the votes. Con, it can take a long time to form a government. Hope you can do something nice with this donation. Thank you so much. That is insanely generous, and I appreciate it so very much. And yeah, it would be a lot of work. But I think the way the parties in the United States are now, they're ripe for splitting. If ever there was a time when we could break up all of the parties because there's so obvious factions within them, like literally right now is the time to do it. The Democratic Party could be at least two separate parties, the more corporatist folks and the more progressive folks. The Republican Party, the more moderate folks and the total crazy batshit people, right? Like there, boom, right there, 4 parties. Throw in the Green Party. If they ever, ditch the Jill Stein crap, she was freaking lunatic, horrible, and they put her up like 8 different times. The Green Party has good ideas and good platforms. Like they're good. They just suck at running a party. So maybe purge every single person from it, put in competent, smart people, and you're looking like, hey, look, now there's 5 parties. The Libertarians exist in a stupid way. They could siphon off Republican votes. Who knows? But we have to shoehorn ourselves into one of 2 parties. If we want to have any kind of say in who actually runs our government right now, we got to be one of those 2. And if not, well, it is what it is. Ryan Edwards says, people are desperate for a candidate who talks like a normal person and doesn't turn everything into a fight. I love Jasmine. She's a firecracker that we absolutely need, but we need normal too. We'll see. You're not wrong, by the way. You are right. But that's the problem with losing Crockett, is that we don't have enough firecrackers. Now, I agree. We need more calm, rational than we need the firecrackers. But we've got too many calm, rational. We don't have enough flamethrowers. We don't have enough people willing to go out there and be like, oh, really? Here we go. We need more of them. And we're losing like one of the best ones we got. So that's what is so disappointing about that. Same thing with Katie Porter. I mean, when Katie Porter was in Congress, how many times did we see the viral videos of her pulling out the whiteboard and being like, all right, bitch, listen up. Here's what actually happened. What do you have to say about it? I mean, God, we need more of that. And sure, we've got Jared Moskowitz every now and then. Adam Schiff every blue moon. Raskin, good fighter, but not necessarily a bomb dropper, flamethrower, the way Moskowitz can be. AOC does a good job. But honestly, like the rest of the squad has been like crickets recently. Right? I mean, like, what the hell is going on? We thought Fetterman. Turns out he's actually like borderline MAGA at this point. So we don't have enough of these folks, and it's so disappointing. Don't hate the game, play it. I like that. Somebody is agreeing with Tyler Hackner on something. I don't. Tyler Hackner says ranked choice voting is needed. That would be a phenomenal way to be able to get the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th parties involved as well. We get that, then suddenly we get a more representative government. I like that. Calm doesn't work anymore in the USA. It will one day again. It will one day. We'll get there. Cyan Malmstrom says both Tallarico and Crockett got more votes than Cornyn and Paxton. Not saying it's for sure a win for the Democrats, but numbers-wise, it's a strong early sign. Enjoy the $10. Well, thank you very much for that. But it is important to remember, too, that is, that's Democrats voting for Democrats and Republicans voting for Republicans. And Republicans may not have been motivated to go out and vote in their primary. So I do think to a degree, it does mean something, and it also may not mean anything. That's one of those wait and see. Fetterman is a dino, Democrat in name only. He's a Republican. Yeah. And piece of crap. All right. One more, because I know y'all got other streams you want to ditch me and go watch for some reason. It's sad. I'm not going to leave y'all and go do a different stream. So y'all want to leave me and go to other streams. I get it. Anyway, last one here. This is the one, by the way, for those of you who tuned in on Friday, and we got towards the end, and I was like, I got one more story, but I'm not going to do it. I'm tired. I'll do it Monday. And I got to tell you, that was actually a good decision. Because if I had done that story on Friday, I would have left out half the story. Because as I was not doing that story for you on Friday, it was changing in court. So my laziness on Friday saved me from giving you outdated information. Here's what happened. Last week, a judge with the U.S. Court of International Trade in Manhattan, it was Judge Richard Eaton, issued a ruling telling the Trump administration, not only do you have to give refunds to every single company that paid those tariffs last year, but you also have to give them refunds with interest on their money, and you start right now. Like literally right now, cut the check. Get it going, said Judge Richard Eaton. And then he said, by the way, I'm going to give you 2 days. 2 days. Come back on Friday, and I want you to present me your plan with how you're going to start sending out these refund checks immediately. See you in 2 days, he said on Wednesday. So that was the good story. Then on Friday, it got bad. Because on Friday, the Trump administration marched back in front of Judge Richard Eaton and said, hey, Judge, yeah, we can't pay. Yeah, I mean, we don't have the money, and we're not smart enough to even know how to start figuring this out. There's a lot of numbers. We're not numbers people. We're really dumb. We can't do this. So the judge said, all right, you don't have to do it right now. Go on, you little scamps. You go learn some math numbers. And then we'll meet up again soon, and we'll figure it out. So the U.S. Court for International Trade came down with a tough as nails ruling on Wednesday saying, by God, you're going to pay everybody back. You stole their money because the tariffs were ruled to be illegal, so you stole. You're going to give them the money back with interest. You're going to come to me in 2 days and tell me exactly how you're going to do it. And instead, the administration came back and said, we can't figure it out. What do you think we are? Smart? And the court was like, good point. Good point. You guys are pretty dumb. So, you just push it off. You don't have to pay. Eventually you have to pay, sure. But maybe we were a little too harsh on you to begin with. Pathetic. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That's what we always get. with these tough as nails judges that come down hard on the administration. And by God, we're putting an end to this right now. We're going to make people whole again. We're going to bring justice. And then once those headlines fade, the judges are like, hey, listen, okay, I know it's a little harsh. We don't actually have to do that. Okay. Nobody's going to pay attention to this part of it. So why don't you guys just go take your time, go on vacation, do whatever you want. But I'm super mad at you, in case the press is listening. That's what we always get. Every damn time. A couple of super chats, I think, came through here. Ryan Edwards says, it's hard to engage non-voters when politics has turned into a C-strand reality TV show. Way too much drama. I agree. And sometimes the drama's fun because everything else is so horrible and we need something to, have fun with. But I do agree. Politics should not be dramatic. Politics should not be a reality TV show. Politics should be smart people, smarter than us, discussing ways to make our lives better. But unfortunately, it's now a bad episode of the Jerry Springer Show. Raina Bibi says, Graham Plattner seems like a flamethrower. So does Frederick Haynes, who is the Dim nominee to take Crockett's House seat in January of 2027. Plattner's name I've heard. Haynes, I am not familiar with at all, so I'm not sure anything about that. But I will take your word for that. Make politics boring again, says several people, actually. I agree. All right, folks, tons of great content still coming out throughout the rest of the day. If you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. I always do this little pitch at the end, so you stuck around long enough. I appreciate it. Every day, 9 a.m. Central, Monday through Friday, we do these streams. So tune in tomorrow morning. And until then, share the content, not just mine, share other creators as well. Get the word out there, help spread the message. Take care of yourselves. I will talk to you all tomorrow morning.